Well, we're about 2 weeks away from the start of the NFL Draft. He is Paul Dottino. I am John Schmeelk. And Paul, that means it's mock draft season. Every day we get a new one. So we're going to take a look at some of the more recent ones as to what the Giants might do in the 2022 NFL Draft. And Paul, now we're extending out past the first round here. So we have multiple round drafts here. Let's start with Mel Kiper. Mel got the easy way out. He'll need to do a 2-round mock draft. In the first round, he had the Giants selecting Ike Ekwonu, Jermaine Johnson. We've talked about those guys a lot. Please look at our previous mock draft conversations for information on those guys. But Paul, second round, a new name we haven't discussed, Jalen Petrie, who's a safety, linebacker, corner hybrid out of Baylor, who not only did real well at the Combine, he also played real well at the Senior Bowl.
Well, a very, very versatile player, as you mentioned, John. In fact, he even did little slot work when he was there in college as well. Now, I don't see him as doing that in the NFL. He's a very smart, heady player who can certainly play downhill, if you will, as a defensive player. But I don't necessarily know how well he's going to play in space at the NFL level. So I do think he would be more of a strong safety or a sub-3 safety type of player.
He did cover well at the Senior Bowl. We'll see how well that travels into the National Football League when the competition takes a little pop up a little bit. No question about it. All right, let's go to Mel's colleague over at ESPN, Jordan Reed. We did talk to him on the Giants Huddle podcast at the Combine. Make sure you go check that out. Ike Ekwonu, Travon Walker in round 1. Paul, round 2, Quay Walker, also from Georgia, one of their ultra-talented linebackers. Boy, you look at him, he looks like an NFL linebacker. He's got all the traits you want.
Yeah, the skill set is there, but the question is, how are you going to use him at the NFL level? Some of the notes I wrote down, I think he could be a weak side backer. I think he could be a strong side backer. Now, that's if you're going to play a 4-3. If you're going to play a 3-4, I wrote down I think he's better as an inside linebacker.
Though I think he might be able to rush the passer on third down.
I think he has shown some of those traits in school. I don't know if that's going to translate as well to the NFL. He does have athleticism, and he can cover, by the way.
He's 6'4", 240.
No doubt. The problem is if he's going to be an edge guy in the NFL, he's going to be more of that tweener type. I do think he's got range, and I do think he's got coverage ability to take care of running backs and tight ends coming out.
Yeah.
So he's a very interesting guy for me.
Really good player. Interesting to see how he gets used in the NFL. By the way, Jordan did a 7-round mock. We're not going through all 7. No. We're going to go through, though, 1 through 4. So Walker was a second-round pick to the Giants. Third round, 2 picks to the Giants. Greg Dulcich, a long, rangy tight end out of UCLA, and Kirby Joseph, a safety out of Illinois.
All right, let's talk about Dulcich first, because to me, he is strictly scheme-specific. If you want a flex tight end, okay, absolutely dynamite. You'll be ecstatic to have him.
Don't ask him to block, though.
Don't want him to do other things. That's one of the things you don't want him to do. So it's strictly, what is your preference, scheme-specific, what are you looking for? In terms of Kirby Joseph, 1-year starter. Now, that's a bit of an issue because he's not fully polished yet. Skill set is there.
He was good at the Senior Bowl, too.
Very good skill set. He's got all the things that you would want. But, again, because only a 1-year starter, he's going to require a lot of polish and a lot of coaching up.
And then, Paul, maybe my favorite pick in this draft was who Jordan gave the Giants in round 4, Luke Fortner, the center out of Kentucky. I thought he had some really nice tape. They played against Georgia this year. He handled Jordan Davis, I thought, very, very well. I think he could be a guy that could work his way into the starting lineup as a center. He played guard previously, too, in year 1.
Has a lot of experience, too. Was at Kentucky a long time. Now, he's a little older as a prospect coming out. Now, we all know some people will look at that and say, well, that means his upside isn't as high because he's already advanced. He's already in his habits, so to speak. But there's no question. He's a very good technician. He's got athleticism. The thing he will maybe have some trouble dealing with is some of the bigger guys. Now, you mentioned Davis. He did well against him in that matchup, but I wonder if some of the bigger, stronger NFL players on the interior are going to give him a little bit of a problem because he's slightly undersized in his frame to play center.
That's going to be a common conversation with a lot of centers in this draft class, a lot of smaller guys in that center position. Finally, let's go to NFL.com. Chad Reuter. Paul, he did a 4-round mock draft. He had a trade in the first round, which is interesting. He had the Giants trading out of the 5th spot with the Saints. At 70, then picking Kayvon Thibodeau. Then he got both of those Saints first-round picks. They had acquired one from the Eagles previously. So at 16, Derek Stingley dropped because a bunch of quarterbacks went early. Then at 19, Charles Cross dropped because a bunch of quarterbacks went early. Where do I sign on the paper for this first round, Paul? That's unbelievable.
That's a Hollywood movie script. Remember Draft Day with Kevin Costner? That's what we're talking about with that stuff.
That's unbelievable. 3 really good players who we've talked about. Then he has the Giants trading their 4th-round pick, so just a couple picks here in round 2 and 3. George Pickens, a wide receiver out of Georgia, who's dealt with an ACL injury, but Paul, height, speed, length, he checks all the boxes you want trait-wise.
Yeah, he really does. This is a guy who could actually play some big slot, too. You don't necessarily have to put him on the boundary, John, but you mentioned the ACL. And that's going to be something that people are going to check on.
He has 2 years off of it, though.
He does, but he's already had that, and that does make his medical profile a tad dirty. Now, if you have a lot of confidence, you're going to really like getting this player, and you'll probably get terrific value.
He could be first-round value if he gets up going in the 2nd round, if he's healthy. Like,
well,
there's no question
I'll tell you what,
about it.
without that injury, he certainly would have been a first-rounder.
Absolutely. And then, Paul, then a couple of 3rd-round picks. They have Greg Dulcich at 67th overall. We talked about him. And then Otito Ogbonnia with the 81st pick, a defensive tackle, active guy. I saw him at the Senior Bowl. Can penetrate, get upfield, an active player on that defensive line. That's a look at the most recent mock drafts. We'll have a couple more of these as we head into the draft on April 28th from Las Vegas. We'll see you then.